Well, joining me now is former Conservative Minister Ann Widdecombe and historian Dr Tessa Dunlop, also with us Royal Editor of the Sunday Times, Roya Nicker, and former BBC Royal Editor Jenny Bond. So a veritable galaxy of luminaries to debate this. Let me start with you, Roya, again, because you had a big story on Sunday in which your sources at the palace were basically indicating that notwithstanding the onslaught that's come their way, King Charles in particular was prepared to consider reconciliation before the coronation in May. Now, I've got to say, before I get you to talk about that, my own sources tonight, who I would describe as pretty impeccable, believe that's a bit of a reach, say that Charles is absolutely livid, and actually reconciliation right now is most definitely not on the cards. There's been no contact whatsoever with anyone in Montecito, and that may well stay the same. So let's thrash out our sources here. How confident are you that you think that Charles really does want to reconcile with somebody who's really shown that any attempt to do anything just immediately gets commercialised?
Well, good evening, Piers. I think, sources aside, if you speak to people who really know the King, they will tell you that he absolutely does not want to be estranged from his son for the rest of his life. There is no doubt that Charles is livid. The whole royal family are pretty livid about what Harry has done. But we have a few months now, very, very crucial months, leading up to the coronation. And actually, one of the most extraordinary lines in that book was Harry's revelation that Charles said to him and William after Philip's funeral, "Please, boys, don't make the rest of my life a misery," which at the moment Harry is doing a very good job of. But what Charles will not want, really won't want, is estrangement from his son forever and any kind of major overshadowing of the coronation. And if there is nothing done, no contact at all between now and the coronation, I really do think we're going to keep hearing from Harry and Meghan in a very negative way. And Charles will want to avoid that.
But you know what my response would be? It's like, all right, keep yapping if you want to. You've done your worst. Honestly, keep yapping and just completely ignore them. Don't invite them to any royal events. I mean, Jenny Bond, why the hell should they be invited to a coronation? It's the people's coronation. It's our coronation for our monarch. All they've done, these two, is damage the monarchy, damage the reputation of that institution, damage their family, the royal family, on which the monarchy's future depends. What on earth have they done to deserve an invitation to a coronation? Where it's not just Charles, by the way. It's Camilla as well getting crowned, who Harry just trashed in his book.
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, this is the most important day probably in the whole of Charles's life. And if, as the loving father, which I believe him to be, he wants his younger son to be there, then I think that is his right and his privilege. And I think an invitation will be extended to them. I think to not invite them really is going to be feeding the hand that bites Charles. So it'd be wise to invite them. And if they do come, I think we, the media, actually should take it upon ourselves not to make it overshadow the coronation. I mean, we don't want to have screaming headlines about them. So I think we should just have a footnote at the bottom of our coverage of the coronation and say also in attendance were the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. I think that might be one approach.
I'd like a footnote to drag them out if that, in that eventuality. Let me bring in Tessa Dunlop. Look, you are the great apologist for Meghan and Harry. Here's my question for you. Why would two people who hate everything the royals seem to stand for, hate the monarchy, are intent on destroying it, have done nothing but trash it and diminish it in the last 2 years, why on earth would they want to be at a coronation of the next monarch of this country?
Piers, I thought you'd read the full 400 plus pages of Spare. Then you will have got the message loud and clear. There is no macro Harry plan. He is a dyed-in-the-wool royalist.
No, he's not.
He doesn't... Yes,
no,
I'm afraid. He's going about it all the wrong way. He's done unspeakable damage, but he wants to save the monarchy, apparently. No, I'm being serious.
No,
and
what he wants, Tessa, let me just respond to that. What he wants is to keep the titles, the royal titles for him and his wife, because it's the titles that make the money, and they're making hundreds of millions of dollars. His book, #1 global bestseller, his documentary series, huge success, blah, blah, blah. Of course it is. He's trashing the royal family from the inside.
This is a boy in pain who grew
up... please.
I'm so sorry.
Please.
I'm so sorry. Who grew up in a goldfish bowl.
Is he in pain or has he never been happy? Which one is it? He's telling us how happy he is.
Who grew up in a goldfish bowl, who's thrashing his way out of the gilded cage, but actually has realised he doesn't know how to exist without the gilded cage.
Oh, no, he does.
I, incidentally, am no apologist for Harry.
You are.
But I do apologise on your behalf, because one minute you sit there, Piers, and you say, oh, they'll keep yapping away, they should be ignored. There is no way, if they so much as fart, that you would ignore what they say. You stoke the boiler, you stoke the problems for the royal family.
Let me be clear. People say this to me, go, why do you keep banging on about these
Why
two?
do you?
Because they keep trashing the royals. In podcasts, in books, in documentary series, in interviews. It never stops. And I say to them now, I will stop writing and commenting about them if they just shut up. Go to Camp Montecito, be the happy people you keep telling us that you are. Stop trashing the royal family. Stop attacking our monarchy. Stop diminishing this country. If you do that, I'll leave you alone.
You've just heard from the dignified Jenny Bond. Reduce it to a footnote, Piers, but you couldn't resist doing that because, like them, you make money from this.
Jenny.
Let's own it. You make money from this.
I bow to nobody. Of course I do. Everybody who's involved in covering the royals
my case.
Makes money. Well, you're making money appearing on this show tonight.
Thank you. Double time. Thanks.
Yeah, exactly. So you're making money too out of it. So let's not be hypocrites. Jenny Bond, look, no, I bow to nobody in my admiration of Jenny Bond, but she would have been the first in her previous capacity as the BBC's royal doyenne to probably not actually reduce them to a footnote at the coronation because she'd know it's a big, hot story. And this is the problem, Ann Widdecombe, isn't it?
Well,
is that unfortunately, everywhere they go, so does the lens of attention because they make it their job to make sure that we don't leave them alone.
That is exactly why I think they should not be at the coronation. For this reason, I asked myself a very straightforward question. Which will be the bigger circus? If they don't come or if they do come? And if they come, they're likely to be booed. We all know that. There'll be a lot of attention on them because they're there.
Well, that'll be the story. They get booed at the coronation.
Exactly. Whereas if they're in Montecito,
totally agree.
We're all free to concentrate on the coronation. So I feel very strongly they shouldn't come. I also, hang on, you had a long go. I also feel equally strongly that the royals should not be proposing a negotiation meeting. Because we've heard Harry's terms. He wants an abject surrender.
No, I wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw him. This is the point.